Hi everyone, it's Kia here from Comexa, and in today's video, I'll show you how to automate your LinkedIn content creation using Make.com. By following this simple step-by-step tutorial, you'll set up a fully automated workflow to make daily posts on LinkedIn from online articles related to your niche. Now for this automation, we'll be using a tool called Make. Make is an RPA, or robotic process automation tool, that allows you to connect different softwares using a sequence of triggers and actions. So basically, a trigger event will cause an action, which will then cause another action, and then another action, and so on and so forth, until eventually the task that you were hoping for is completed. Now, to be completely honest, you could also replicate this same exact automation with other RPA tools like Zapier or UiPath or so on and so forth. But for the sake of this tutorial, we'll be using Make. It's cheaper and it's easy to use. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First thing you'd want to do is to create a free account on Make.com. So Make.com actually allows you up to 1,000 operations per month with its free account, which is actually a fair few. So you don't really need to get a paid option for the time being if this is the only automation that you have set in place. But as you become a pro, if you decide to get more and more automations done, definitely worthwhile looking at one of their paid plans as well. So once you set up your account with Make.com, you press scenarios on the left-hand side and you click on create scenario, and then you would have an empty canvas like this on your screen. The first thing you'd want to do in any automation is to set up some sort of a trigger or some sort of an event that will start the automation. Now, the automation that we're building would basically take articles that you find online, summarize them, and then make engaging LinkedIn posts out of them that will then be posted on your LinkedIn in real time. So considering that, the first thing you'd want to do is to create a new Google Sheet where you can put article links. So we'll just create a column called links, and we'll create a sheet name called LinkedIn posts, and we'll name the spreadsheet demo for LinkedIn automation. There we go. Now we go back, we're going to press plus, and over here what you'd want it to do is to actually set up that trigger event on Make.com side. So what you'd have to do is first and foremost connect your Google Sheets to Make.com, but before you do that, you want to define what sort of event the trigger would be. So would it be a function being performed or some sort of a change? In this scenario, you'd want to go and click on watch new rows. So what watch new rows would basically do is that every time there is a new row on your Google Sheet, the automation will get triggered and a bunch of sequential steps would happen until eventually a post comes out. First thing you'd want to do is to connect the Google Sheets account to Make.com. To do so, you just press sign in with Google and you do your sign in, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do that because I've already signed in before. So once you sign in, you will then go ahead and set up the trigger. So in order to set up the trigger, first we have to actually locate the sheet or the spreadsheet that we created on Google Sheets. So you go on My Drive, spreadsheet ID, you look through these. We got demo for LinkedIn automation. That's the one that we just created. So then you choose the sheet name, LinkedIn posts. That's the one that we created. And then you will identify whether there is headers, which there is, it's called links, and which rows does that sit on. A1 to Z1, which is correct. We've got A1 to Z1. So I guess A1 is the only column that we have. And then you would want to identify a limit. And a limit basically just means how many rows is being pulled at once. If you put the limit at 3, at one time, it will take 3 articles and potentially create 3 new posts. You don't want to do that. It's going to be very difficult to set up, and it's also going to identify you as spam with LinkedIn. So you would want to just press 1. Once you do that, you press OK, and there you go. That's your trigger set up. Beautiful. Now that your trigger is set up, what basically happens is that every time a new article link goes into the links column on your spreadsheet, Make.com will actually pull that link. Not its content, literally just the link. And it will store it within its own database, right? Now, let's actually create the first link just so we can actually in real time test this as well. So what I usually like to do to find interesting articles is just to go on Google News And then on Google News, I will search up my niche. So I'm in the AI space. So I like to search up AI. And daily or every second day, I read through these articles and kind of see which one is interesting. Love in the time of AI. Not sure if that's very interesting.
One eternity later.
Okay, finally, something that might be a little bit interesting. So how the iPhone 16 with AI could send, Apple's market value to $4 trillion. Interesting. We will take that link, come here, put it there, and there you go. That's our first link. Now we go back. And the one thing you always want to make sure you do when you're using make.com is to constantly save, or at least turn on autosave, because if you don't save and you leave, you're going to literally lose your entire automation. And I know it has frustrated a lot of people, including me. So definitely make sure to save it. Now, when we go back and think about it, the first thing that has been done is that the link was pulled. Now you want to actually scrape the details of that link, or in simple words, go through that link and read the article and actually summarize the article. To do that, what you would want to do is set up some sort of an LLM scraper. You could use GPT-4o. I generally like Perplexity when it comes to scraping and summarizing. So basically you just press on Perplexity, you click on create a chat completion. And once you do that, you will have to add your Perplexity API key so that you can actually create a connection between Perplexity and your make.com account. And doing so is actually pretty simple. I can quickly show you how you would do that. You just go on Google, you search up Perplexity, you press on the first one. So I've already got a Perplexity account, so I don't really need to set one up, but you'd probably need to set up an account initially. You come here, you press on API, and then once you press on API, you can actually copy any of your API keys and then use it. Beautiful. Once you copy the API key, just pop it in there, click on save, and you're connected. For the purpose of what we're building, Llama 3 should be well equipped to be able to summarize the article. So we'll just keep it on Llama 3. And then you would want to actually define the prompt that goes into Perplexity. So the role, first and foremost, always choose it as user. And then for the prompt, I've actually prepared a prompt in advance. So it's just a very simple one saying you're a professional copywriter, a link is given to you as an input, just summarize it to its main points and use dot points, and don't add any additional information and only go based off what you have in the article. And then you'd want to put the link as you promised. So for the link, always click on links A. That basically just looks at the topmost row that is inside the Google Sheet. Once you've done that, you could identify maximum number of tokens, which basically just defines how big the output could be from running this LLM. I usually don't touch that when it comes to Perplexity, and temperature just basically says how creative can the LLM be. Leave that as well. Press on OK, and there you go. Next, you'd want to add an LLM to actually take that summarization and create an engaging LinkedIn post out of it. I would like to use ChatGPT for this matter. If you just press on ChatGPT, you can then click on create a completion. And then you would want to add your API key from OpenAI to make.com so you can make that connection between the two apps. Now, to do so, what you can search up is OpenAI API. So if you just press on OpenAI API and sign up and create your login, you can easily ask for an API key. And then once you grab that API key, you can paste it in here, click on save, and you will be connected. Amazing. So next, we just have to confirm which model we want to use for ChatGPT. I personally prefer to use GPT-4o for these sort of automations that happen on a daily basis. GPT-4 Turbo is a little bit better than GPT-4o and it produces more sophisticated outputs, but GPT-4o is much cheaper. So if you have an automation that kind of runs all the time, and you're looking to save money and you don't want to spend too much money on it, GPT-4o is probably the best model to use. Amazing. So then we will assign the role to be a user and we will add our prompt. Now I've gone ahead and created a prompt a little bit in advance. You are a professional copywriter with a specialization in creating engaging LinkedIn posts. You've been given a summary of an intriguing article, turn it into a LinkedIn post, yada, yada, yada. And that's about it. So this one should prompt the LLM to take the summarization and create an engaging LinkedIn post out of it. Now you can either copy and paste this same exact prompt into your automation, or alternatively, you could also tweak it a little bit, get it to sound exactly like you, tell it exactly what tone you want to use, who your target audience is, so on and so forth. But in this specific scenario, I have just written something that's very basic, very broad. But yeah, feel free to change it according to your needs. To give the summarization to the LLM, you will just write summarization, 2 dots, and then input the output of Perplexity, which is choices, message, content. That's it. And then you scroll down, maximum number of tokens, which basically just means how long you want the output to be. Now for GPT-4o, it's 4,096 tokens. So I'll just make it the maximum, press OK, and that should be that. So just to try it one more time, I'm gonna copy the link, put it in the next row, go back, save, and run the workflow. So the trigger, an action, and another action. At this stage, what we should have would be an engaging LinkedIn post based on the article that we had found previously. So let's just double check that. Choices, +1, message, content. Imagine the future of smartphones, not just smarter, but truly intelligent. Analysts at blah, 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 blah. There you go. That's your LinkedIn post. Now, as I said, you would want to prompt it to sound the way you do, and you would also want to prompt it to have the angle that you would like to use on your LinkedIn post. Some people want to make their LinkedIn post salesy, so it would kind of be pushing a certain service or a certain product. Sometimes your LinkedIn post is more informational. You can tell the GPT to make the post informational. So then when you grab articles online, it could just be interesting news or new developments, and then it would create an informational post that will then be posted on your LinkedIn, making it look like you're extremely active in the space, which is exactly what you want. Beautiful. So it seems to be that the workflow is working correctly thus far. Next, you'd want to generate an image that will go along with your LinkedIn post. To do this, we will just click on add a module and we will look for OpenAI again. Instead of creating a chat completion, which basically just means a prompt that will give an output that's text, we want to look for generate an image. And over here, again, you would just make sure that your API key is connected. You shouldn't have to connect it again because you've already made that connection once. What you'd want to do then is choose the model. We're going to choose the most recent model, DALLE 3, tends to work the best. For the prompt, I've prepared something in advance again. It's just a very simple prompt that tells it to create a cover image for the LinkedIn post that will capture the true essence or the main themes and ideas of the post. And it would ask for it to be in a 1:1 aspect ratio. And also telling the model to not create something that is too difficult to understand, just to kind of keep it simple. As I said, again, you guys can change this to make it match your brand look. If you want certain colors used inside the images, you can tell it to use a certain color scheme. But for the sake of my automation, we just want the bare minimum. So I pressed OK there. Let's try one more time to see if it's working. So first I'm going to save it. Then I'm going to copy the link down again so that it has a new event that will trigger it. So there we go. Event got triggered because there's a new link. Perplexity is going to summarize it. ChatGPT is going to turn it into a LinkedIn post. And DALLE 3 is then going to generate an image for that LinkedIn post. There we go. Everything seemed to have worked correctly. Now, what you'd want to do is add LinkedIn at the very end so you can actually create the post. Now, for the sake of my use case, I don't really post LinkedIn posts directly on my own personal account. What I do is I actually create posts on my organization account or my company account. So create an organization image post is the one that you would want to choose. You would then click add. And after you click add, you would want to make a connection between LinkedIn and make.com. Once you do so, you will save it and close. And once you are connected, LinkedIn's data would actually be sent through to make.com. And once you click on organization dropdown, you will see a dropdown of the companies that you own. Now, I will be creating this one for Comexa. Then you will have to choose which image is going to accompany it, which is under the file dropdown. Now I've just realized that I've made a mistake. So if we go back here, for the DALLE 3 output, you'd want to press on show advanced settings, scroll to the bottom and make sure that the response format isn't a URL and is actually an image file. Reason being, LinkedIn only allows you to upload these photos as a file and it doesn't really pull URLs. So what you'd want to do is make sure that that's a file. You want to make sure you press OK. You want to probably save it one more time. It's going to give you an error because LinkedIn hasn't been fully set up yet. But then you come back to LinkedIn, you make sure that's on file. So now it's actually pulling in the image as a file. And then title, alternative text. Title, let's just say image. Alternative text, we'll just say AI image. Some people say that the algorithm kind of pushes your content a little bit further if you do have alternative text. So might be worthwhile putting it there. And as for the content, it basically just means what the actual text of the post is going to be. You would want to use the output from ChatGPT. So you go choices, message, and content. And there you go. So now this should create a post with ChatGPT's output as the text and DALLE 3's output as the image. Amazing. So visibility public, main feed, is reshare disabled? No, it's fine. Press OK. That should have everything set up. Ah, interesting. There's two things we haven't set up. What have we not set up? Let's see. I think maybe it's because we didn't press OK. Did we press OK? What's going on? Let's try to save it one more time. Okay, there we go. Sometimes when you don't click OK, make.com doesn't realize that you have made those changes. One more thing as well, just for neatness, that I like to do is rename each of these modules. So this one is going to be pulling link, and then this one is going to be creating summarization, and then this one, which is the LLM, is going to be creating LinkedIn post, and this one is going to be image generation, and then this one is going to be posting. The reason why it's worthwhile naming the modules, right now we've only got about 5 modules, but if you're building a bigger automation, which is going to be posting stuff on multiple platforms, you would probably want to name it, because then you might get confused as to what exactly each module does. And if there's a bug, it's going to be very hard for you to fix. So for neatness, always make sure to rename, and you could also press auto align so everything goes back into a nice line. You will then save and run one more time. What should happen is that the post should be created and then posted on LinkedIn automatically. Let's see if we've done everything correctly. There we go. Problem. You gotta love getting these problems. So let's see what the problem is. Your request was rejected as a result of our safety system. Your prompt may contain text that is not allowed by our safety system. Interesting. Your role is to create a cover image for LinkedIn post provided. Problem is, I actually didn't provide the summarization. Sorry, I didn't actually provide the LinkedIn post as input. So the model doesn't actually know what it's meant to create. Or maybe that's not even the problem, but it's good that I figured that out, because it wouldn't work without having inputted the LinkedIn post, because we're telling it to create an image based on a LinkedIn post, but there's no LinkedIn post. So what you'd want to do is just write LinkedIn post. And over here we said for the LinkedIn post provided below. So LinkedIn post, and that's the post. Beautiful. With these sort of automations, it's so easy to make a small mistake. And that's why it's really important to check at every step. Because if I were to create 5 more modules and then I'll come back, it will just be a lot more annoying to have to fix this. So it's good that we realized early. Let's try run it again. Let's see what happens. Perplexity, ChatGPT, and this is the big moment. Beautiful. DALLE 3 seems to be working perfectly. Let's see if that pops through. Image generation does take a little bit longer. And LinkedIn posting, there we go. So if I come here and I refresh this feed, I should see a new LinkedIn post. Can Apple hit a $4 trillion market cap? Here's what you need to know. Boom. And that's a pretty nice image as well. I'm happy with that. Beautiful. Amazing. So there you go. That's your entire automation process step by step. It's actually a very simple automation to put together. Now, if you wanted to take this a step further, what you could do is you could create something called a router. I will actually probably just show you guys what that looks like. So if I come here, I can say add router. And what a router basically does is it allows you to branch off to multiple places. So after I've created the post and I've created the image, I can click on this again. And now instead of just posting on LinkedIn, I can come here and I can search up, for example, Instagram, and I can make an Instagram post, or I can search up Twitter and I can make a Twitter post. It's actually very, very easy to set this up so that it can post on multiple platforms at the same time. If you guys do want to see that, just comment down below and I would be more than happy to do a full tutorial on that as well. But we'll just quickly delete this one more time, make sure everything's working correctly, realign, save it, and there we go. That's your automation. Now I'm also going to give you one extra quick tip as well. If you're going to set up this automation to eventually be fully automated to the point that you actually don't want to have any involvement in it whatsoever, I would probably recommend that at the start, instead of actually posting it directly to LinkedIn, you would want to send it to yourself as an email. So basically what you would do is create a module that says Gmail and send an email. So you could potentially just send an email from one of your accounts to your other account. You would then attach the image from DALLE 3 as an attachment and also put the LinkedIn post in the content box and create a subject like LinkedIn post draft. And you will then manually make sure that the post actually aligns with your company tone, goals, brand voice. Make sure that the LLM hasn't made any sort of silly mistakes that might look bad for you or your company. And then every time if there is a mistake or if there is something that you want to fine tune and fix, you can come back to each of these modules and change the prompt accordingly until eventually you get something that will give out the perfect posts 95 to 99% of the time. And once you reach that workflow, then you can come back, delete the Gmail, and instead of sending it to yourself as an email, you can directly post it on LinkedIn. But yeah, as an automation expert, I personally don't believe in 100% automation. I think that there should always still be a human touch at the very end of the process to ensure that number one, the content actually aligns with your goals, and number two, you still sort of keep that authenticity and you have that point of difference with other competitors in the market. So I would definitely recommend playing around with it over time until eventually you get the model to a point where it's safe to 100% automated. Beautiful. There it is. That's another 10 to 20 minute automation that's going to save you hours of repetitive work a week. And if you guys enjoyed this one, feel free to like and subscribe. We're going to be doing videos just like this every single week to teach you guys about different automations and custom AI applications that you can use to, as I said, reduce friction, reduce expenses, and eventually increase your business's profits. Thanks for sticking along. See you in the next one.